Hello, I am Valentino Vasquez. Today, I want to discuss one portion of or aspect of deaf culture. What is it? Deaf and hard of hearing populations. The populations. Another deaf cultural aspect I can correlate, and the beliefs, the values, the attitudes, the traditions, the rules of each other, of society, of intermingling, the language, plus so many more things we can do. But today, I would just like to discuss deafness and hard of hearing population. A long time ago, during 1994, where was this? At Gallaudet College University, there was an office there, Gallaudet Research Institute. And it was the leading writer named Judith Holt. And she kept in touch or got lots of information with a lot of people. She was curious. She wanted to know how many of the deaf and hard of hearing people live here in America, in the United States, all over. She got in contact with lots of people, contacted them. And then for the National Center for Health and Statistics, under the hierarchy, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, they found that information where? With the Health Interviewing Analysis Survey for 2 years, 1991 to 1992. And they had Judith, they gave her all that information, all that research, all that studies that they had done, and they found that all together, all over, people living here in the United States, in the country, in America, that the population here has about normal hearing people, about 235 million people here. And another group of people, the population, they have about the hearing impaired, with hearing problems, really meaning people in the range of, let's say, mild hearing loss all the way up to about profound hearing losses. That range all together was under hearing impairments, about 20 million people here. Oh, okay. Well, they printed it in the journal, and they published it to the deaf all over America in the Annals of the Deaf, AAD, and they shared it all over to the deaf communities, the people all over. They read it. They thought, wow, that's neat information. It helps us, to know things. How many deaf and hard of hearing people there are here? Really, deaf and hard of hearing impaired. Okay, that information helped us. Then they gave a challenging question. How many deaf and hard of hearing people live in each of the 50 states? Judith, she couldn't answer that question. Later on, about 2008, where they did this at the U.S. Department of Commerce, and the office there, the Census Bureau, they thought, well, that was their responsibility to gather all this information. How many people live here? How many people are here? In each of the 10 years, they do an analysis. They question people, they find out where they live, what house they live in, what apartment they live in, all that information they gather. How many people live here? And in a separate group category, they heard that that was a challenging question. How many deaf and hard of hearing people live here in each of the 50 states? Well, they had a group that they established and thought, they don't have the finances to support that. They didn't know if they put up their sleeves. They thought, well, they have a goal in mind. So they discussed what kind of method would they have to own? What procedure could they own? What plan could they do to gather all this information? So they found that method called the American Community Survey. And there they used that method, and they had they went to each state, and the federal government, state government, they were ready. They contacted everybody, and they gathered all that information, and they remembered. Now, this was during the 2008, and they found that information, they gathered it up, and they had all the information on 50 states, each and every state to show here. And here in Oregon, they have the population, let's say, normal hearing was about 1,700,000 people here. And another community in the population they had about, for hearing impaired, they had about 160,000 people here. Oh, okay. They printed it in the AAD magazine, the Annals of the Deaf, and they published it. And the whole community read it and thought, oh, wow, that really helps us out. So it was quite interesting. They went to the office of A&D, Association of the Deaf, A&D, and the hierarchies in the national office, and they got involved in many deaf people and hard of hearing and many members in the community. And they supported, they were an advocacy group for it, and they for employment, for education, for the legal stuff, all that. And the A&D challenged them. They had another question. We're curious, how many deaf and hard of hearing people all around, meaning the hearing impaired, use hearing aids, cochlear implants, little hearing aids? How many use those? And communication. How many use American Sign Language, Sign in English, PSE, cued speech, oral speech, that sort of thing? How many ways of communications do they use? How many feel that they identify with the deaf or the hard of hearing population? Many, they felt that was important. Mild loss all the way to profound loss. The point was deaf or hard of hearing. That was their, idea that they wanted to get involved with, to know how many were in that category. So the office, the Census Bureau office said, come on, that's not very important. Hearing impaired, just it covers everything. NAD said no, they needed that information. They needed to gather it. They needed to help, to support, to get the regulations, to get the rules, to get the finances for the state, for the federal government, to be involved, to cover up all that. The government needs to be involved too. So the census office said, okay, we will add that question. Communication, hearing aids, how many identifies deaf and hard of hearing, and so forth. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you. About 5 minutes. I'm Susan Vance.